Hiya, hiya. Everybody wants to weigh in on Kobe Bryant, a national hero, wonderful sportsman, and a good guy who believed in giving away to keep it, which is my belief. Also, I want to talk to you about Calabasas for a minute. We had the first house on Park Granada in Calabasas when it was highly unfashionable. That's the tweet, and it's not coming from the president. It's coming from a bird. So this is an amazing place, this Calabasas. It was a dirt road, and all that was on it was the Sagebrush Cantina, which was an old Western bar, and next door to it, some sort of a Calabasas means pumpkin in Spanish. It was a Mexican stopover, and next door to the Sagebrush Cantina is a museum, which was an old homestead. It became a museum. Across the street is where they filmed Wonder Woman, if you ever saw that on television with Lynn Kellogg, with the gas pumps that have the handles on it and stuff. I mean, it was very primitive. They didn't even have a post office. We were not incorporated. It's Las Virgenes School District, the Lost Virgins. Oh, we lost that a long time ago. Right across the street from Calabasas was the Pet Cemetery. And John Davidson, if you remember him, he had horses and he lived over there with... He was on a lot of television shows back then. It was a great place to live. The movie stars weren't there yet. At the end of the street, just before you came to the circle, was the movie star home for retired movie stars. The home where the fund from the unions took care of those who couldn't afford. Like Tonto. Tonto was there. Meanwhile, where we lived, up around the lake, the Lone Ranger moved in there. His name, Clayton. Well, he was Clayton Moore, and the other guy, Tonto, was Jay Silverheels, I think. Yeah, that's his name. But Clayton was a great guy. He wrote his book. I have a copy of his book. I have his manuscript. I have it because he asked me to get it published. At the time, I was a creative director at 20th Century Fox, and he wanted me to move along with it. Anyhow, I became friendly with him, and Clayton was stripped of the Lone Ranger. They had him take the mask off, because the Rather Corporation, which was a big one, decided to make a movie of the Lone Ranger and use a young guy instead of the old Lone Ranger. They wanted to get a new Ranger. And they also bought the Spruce Goose, and they put it in Long Beach when the Navy left there. The town was desperate. You talk about homeless. It was worse than San Rafael is right now. So anyway, back there they had the... what was it? The Queen Mary, was it? Yeah, the ship that no longer sailed for Cunard. They had the Queen Mary and the Spruce Goose, and they put them together in this little museum area in Long Beach. Anyhow, it was owned by the Rather Corporation, which would not allow Clayton Moore to have the mask anymore. So what did Clayton do, because he was so clever? He had sunglasses made like the mask. So you would see him go shopping over at the store at the corner at Vaughn's, and he would be wearing the sunglasses, the Lone Ranger. He was always the Lone Ranger. Kimosabi. That sounds like Dan Ingram. So anyway, this is a different kind of a world that I was in. And at that time, at 20th Century Fox, we had a lot of television hit shows, one of which was what were the girls? The three girls, Charlie's Angels. And Farrah Fawcett lived there. Farrah Fawcett and her husband, Lee Majors. Matter of fact, I took a fire hydrant with the two nozzles coming out of it, and I did a little painting that upset her a bit. I put in a pair of major faucets. That's what I put. She didn't think that was too funny. Anyhow, I did. So back then, we had a country club that wasn't really anything special yet. Now it's the Beverly Hills of the San Fernando Valley. And my wife then reminded me yesterday of why we moved there. We moved there because that was right on the smog line. It was the end of the smog line from LA County. Right there was where you lost the smog because of all the hills and range. Now, there's an inversion layer from Malibu Canyon, and that's where you have that fog rolling in, and it burns off around, most days, around noon. Yesterday was a particularly bad inversion day, and my suspicion, although it wasn't announced, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk about all of this, was that the helicopter was not doing well in that environment, in that weather. That's my thought. But I lived there. Ronald Reagan lived there. He had a home on Malibu Canyon, right up the road a little bit. A lot of people lived there who were not at that point celebrities. You know, I mean, we're famous but not celebrities. Celebrities is another deal. That's like the Kardashians and this fake orgasm world that we live in, or fake eargasms, because all we do is hear about these guys. I'm older, and I don't want to hear anymore, because I lived during the great days and the glamour days when we had no access to any celebrities who were of. You had very, very few appearances from major motion picture stars. I worked there, so that was different. But fans love movie stars, and even Kobe Bryant had I think he got a Tony Award or something for his animation. But everybody famous who got rich moved in there. Everyone who I could think of, Frankie Valli, of the Four Seasons, my age, a little older than me. Frankie's a little older. I'm telling you something. We really had a good community, and it was small. Then it got too glitzy. Now it's all of a sudden it's glamorous. When you get glam and you put glam in the picture, everybody's got a red carpet and all this crap. It's it's boring being a star. I got to tell you. I know you don't want to hear it, but it's really not a good lifestyle. Why? Because everybody has their nose in your food. The paparazzi follows you around. You have no privacy. And unless you're really doing this so that everybody can kiss your butt, it's not a good ride. Simply put. Now, if you have talent and you have a craft and you do it well, do that anyway. Because who cares what anybody thinks of your work when it's done well? Because then it's between you and your creator. Everybody has something. Everybody has a fingerprint. Everybody's as unique as a snowflake, and everybody has a certain talent. So when you put it all together, you probably have either a snowstorm, or you've got a lot of innovation, which is what I hope for. Anyway, that's my story. I think I avoid helicopters. I had one go down in the middle of my show at NBC with Jane Dornacker in the middle of a weather traffic forecast. I'm not real big on helicopters, for obvious reasons. My friend Phil Arno bought a TV station in Buffalo. He almost got crippled from his helicopter with Disney when he worked for the Disney Channel. I don't know. I just don't think they're. And listen, I'm from Buffalo. Niagara Falls is the home of Larry Bell, Alexander Lawrence Bell. Lawrence Bell. He created that whirlybird thing. Part of it, much of it. So that's it. I just wanted to mention the other side of the story, because maybe you wouldn't know all this stuff, or maybe you don't care. But it's a little different than talking about how a star got killed, which is a terrible thing. And much respect and regards for him and his family. But there's another side to the story too that sets it up a little differently. And I thought you'd like to hear that or see it. Anyway, that's it. It's a Reynolds wrap. Oh, follow me on Facebook and YouTube.